Welcome back to another episode of It's Not Your Program, It's Your Form that's fucking up your results. The Jacks of Jacked and Lean are going to teach you why your lats are not growing when training pull downs. Today we're going to take you through the common issues we see when doing pull downs and how to fix them the Jacked and Lean way. It's about to be a back attack with the Jack attacks. Let's get it. The first issue we see with lat training comes from an improper setup. So a lot of times people, when they utilize a machine like this hammer strength lat pull down here that diverges a little bit, the elbows are popping off the body a little bit too much. And so when it comes to setting up and how it affects your execution, if you're in a good position, you're more likely to execute the rep properly. So let's demonstrate, Jack, what we normally see on this and how we can fix it. So like I said, this hammer strength pull down, when you come down, it diverges a little bit, which I'm not gonna say is horrible for training the lats. I actually personally quite like it. But just for the sake of optimizing for your lat training, we don't want those elbows to come out the body quite as much. So Jack, let's set that down. So the answer is therefore then single arm. But now an issue I see with single arm is that people just stay way too square on, and that's when they pull down, they're still coming off the body with that elbow. The goal of training your lats is to try to get that elbow as close to the body as possible. So Jack, in order to set himself up to accomplish that goal, I want you just to have a slight swivel here. Yep, to the working side, and then now a little tip down. I like a little bit of side bend, just to imagine like you're looking down the side of a gun to help draw that arm down, keeping it close to the body here. Now Jack's a little bit low on the seat. I would like his seat to be a little bit higher. So as you can see, he's kind of getting stuck up in his shoulder a little bit. I'll cover that on the next video, but the goal here is to swivel just a little bit to the working side, drop that working leg back, keep that off leg forward just a little bit, little side bend here, looking down the side of the gun. And again, if you guys are struggling to train your lats, this is a really good position that will also apply to your row training as well. So the second big issue we see when people are doing pull downs that's impeding their lat growth is getting caught up in their shoulder. Jack, let's demonstrate this. So what I see is when people are doing their lat pull downs, they're kyphotic in that upper back. As you can see, Jack, his shoulder is staying elevated through the motion here, whether he's in the stretch or in that contracted position. So a couple fixes here. Number one, his hips are in a good position like we talked about in the last point. He shifted to meet his shoulder width. Now what I want him to do is to think about popping up that torso just a little bit, dropping the shoulder down just a little bit. So now his lat, it's what's taking the load, not up into his shoulder and elevating, which also causes that elbow to spin off the body a little bit. And like we talked about, that's not the goal of lat training. So what I want you to do is to think about dropping into this lat, depressing the shoulder a little bit, popping that torso up a little bit. You don't want to lean too much and turn it into a row, but just enough where we call it clearing the shoulder. Now as Jack pulls down, he's thinking about just sliding that elbow down towards the hip, keeping that shoulder centrated in the socket. A second element of getting caught up in the shoulder comes from you're not just in a bad position, but you could also be, as you're coming up, losing your position. So what I see is as people come up, even if they were good at the bottom, Jack will come up, he'll come too high, his elbows will spin out, now he's in his shoulder, and in order to get back into it, he has to try to torque down, and people just don't fully get back to the position they need to. This can also cause sometimes some elbow pain, shoulder pain as they try to torque through the movement. So as you come up, I want you to think about just sliding that hand, allowing that lat to wrap around the rib cage here, that good setup gave us as a leverage point. So it's wrapping, the shoulder staying depressed. He's exploring the range of motion just before he feels like that shoulder elevates and spins, and then he's drawing back down. One final component here is just to help prevent from getting too much into that shoulder. Think about pulling a little bit more pinky. So at the top of the rep, I want you to do about heavy pinky pressure, heavy lat, and as he's in this position, again, his lat, all that tension just hanging out on here before he slides that down. The next issue we see is this lack of stability, especially on a pull-down machine where you have the option to be more stable. And that's, you'll see these people kind of grab their lat while they're doing the reps and kind of rolling through it. So Jack, let's demonstrate that quick. So as just most people, especially younger guys, I'll see them kind of like grab their lat, you know, kind of feel the lat a little bit, which is ironically because they're also in a bad position and having a harder time being set up for a proper rep. But they're here, just kind of grabbing the lat, and it's not necessarily wrong, but you try to throw some significant load on there, and you're gonna get caught up in your shoulder, pulling through your bicep, et cetera, et cetera. So if you have the option, which a good pull down machine does, find a way to create a little bit more stability. I like to tell people to push with this hand here to not only help set their torso in a better position, but it creates this nice block such that he's in a good position where that lat is now able to wrap around the rib cage, versus if you're unstable, you'll be pulled forward, that elbow will spin a little bit here. But if he is locked in, it now creates that anchor point for his body to be locked in, so that lat can actually get a little bit more stretch, load, which can help drive a little more hypertrophy. So be stable, use an offhand support, especially when doing single arm pull downs. So we know not everyone has access to the higher level equipment that we have at the Jack and Lean gym. And a common, substitution for those then is just a neutral grip or kind of underhand grip pull down. And not a bad exercise, but a couple issues we see here are, number one, people get caught up in their shoulders too much as they pull down. So as you can see, Jack's elevating his shoulders, which is something we identified on the last move. Your lats just realistically don't produce a ton of force in a great line of motion right here. You typically need to clear that shoulder a little bit, just get that arm a little bit less in shoulder flexion so you create a better line of pull. So a cue I like to give people here is to clear the shoulder. So what that means in this case is just kind of tipping back a little bit. You'll see Jack's head go back. Now that relative arm, its hands are still in the same spot, but he just moved his torso to clear the shoulder to put him in a little bit better line of pull, so not Jack going pull down. And you can see his shoulder is staying way more centrated in the socket as he comes up. That lat is grabbing tension. He's not spinning, right? If you're gonna have to do a cable lat pull down, make sure you can even get a little bit of a lean forward, clearing the shoulder before you come down. So it creates this little bit of this rocking motion, and clear and slide, versus staying in it and just kind of pulling straight down, yanking through your shoulder. Now, one variation that I'll have people do that don't have access to the other machines that replicates a little bit better pulling angle for the lats is gonna be a cable lat pull down using a bench. So we'll get that set up here quick. The single arm cable pull down, just with a single D handle here and an incline bench, okay? So if you don't have a cable handle this long, you can use a shorter D handle with something like this daisy chain to extend its length so it doesn't bottom out at the bottom. But set this bench up to a low 35-degree angle there, slide it up into the bench of the pull down machine. If you work out at a gym with a little bit slicker floor like a Lifetime, you might have to MacGyver some plates or something to help prevent that from sliding. So Jack, let's go and just demonstrate this one quick. Now, as you guys can see, all the mistakes we've talked about before, this kind of helps solve. So the angle of pull helps him stay out of his shoulder, clear his shoulder a little bit better. He has the bracing ability here. He also even has that same ability to kind of swivel his hips to get himself in line with that lat. So this is a really good, easy setup variation that gets you an absolutely gnarly lat stimulus if you're limited on equipment. So that's a wrap on a few mistakes we see made on pull down machines that's limiting your back growth. Stay tuned for the next episode of It's Not Your Program, It's Your Form. That's fucking up your results.